Sensory qualities are crucial for consumer acceptance. As such, understanding and measuring the sensory properties of products is important. This chapter will focus on a brief review of sensory techniques, then look at their specific application to potato chips. Preference testing is a type of hedonic testing. For a given population of responders, a pair preference test assesses if there is a statistically significant preference between two products. The population to be targeted must be carefully evaluated. The pair preference test is put up similarly to how the pair comparison technique for discrimination testing is set up. To find out which product is favored, two samples are compared to evaluate if one product is favored over the other. A sufficient number of comparable replies must be collected. In this study, we need to determine which sample has the most preferable between two samples. The objective of this video is to obtain the preference of one product directly against the second product of popular potato chips in the market.
In this experiment, we had provided two different brands of sample, which are Sample A, potato chips Mr. Potato, original flavor, and Sample B, potato chips Jaker, original flavor. There are several methods of how this sensory test is performed.
First, 52 untrained panelists will be chosen to participate in the sensory test. Next, second, the panelists must be willing to perform the sensory test without any kind of abuse or force. Step 3, the small plastic containers will be labeled with random code number that has been written in the master sheet. Next, step 4, two pieces of each sample A and B were transferred into the different plastic container.
Step 5, the panelists followed the instructions in the score sheet and then started to evaluate the samples. Step 6, the panelists rinsed their mouth first by using the water that has been given. Step 7, two different samples were tested by the panelists. Step 8, the score sheet and survey questionnaire was filled by the panelists after the sample has already been evaluated.
From the data collected, we can see that more panelists prefer Jaker than Mr. Potato, with 29 to 23 panelists from a total 52 panelists. We arranged the raw data from the questionnaire into the table to see the relationship between the categories and the preferred potato chip sample. From the table, we put it into the bar chart according to its categories. Panelists had chosen the most preferred sample on the score sheet given. Hence, the result was analyzed by using two-tailed test because this test will depend on the preference of panelists based on their sensitivity. The data analyzed using chi-square test. Using adjusted chi-square test, we calculate the chi-square with the n 52 and degree of freedom 2. The chi-square calculated is 0.654. Since 0.654 is less than 3.841 from the table, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. There is enough evidence to conclude that there are no significant difference between the preferred potato chips, Mr. Potato, and Jaker. We wanted to see the relationship between the categories and the panelist preference using Minitab. From the Minitab, we get the chi-square value and p-value for each of the categories. As all of the chi-square value is lower than its critical value, we conclude that there are no relationship between any categories with the panelist potato chip preference.
This study with a total of 52 respondents showed the degree of direction of consumer preference towards potato chips. Survey was carried out by face-to-face interviews in each researcher's house using standard questionnaires. This was followed by the consumer sensory test on two commercial potato chips, Mr. Potato and Jaker. In addition, the discrete qualitative sensory analysis of 2 commercial potato chips was performed by 52 sensory untrained panelists on evaluating the attributes of chips. Results show that Checkers is the most preferred chips among respondents with 55.77%, whereas Mr. Potato is the most frequently purchased brand, 44.23%. Adults of the age group from 26 years old and above were determined as the group that consume most chips. Consumers' perceptions for good quality potato chips must be crispy and have good flavor. As the results of the consumer sensory test, Checkers was top ranked, followed by Mr. Potato. The preference bar chart showed that the flavors preferred by consumers are original, spicy and cheese.
In conclusion, there is no significant differences of preferred potato chips between the samples at a 5% confidence level. The panelists cannot detect the differences between the potato chips from different brands, which are Mr. Potato Chips Original and Jacker Potato Chips Original.